I'm kind of amazed I haven't done this yet. Occasionally, I will talk about fighting game rosters and my opinion on all the characters, and you guys seem to like that, so I'm going to be doing it with one of my favorite fighting games ever, Dead or Alive 5. So let's start off here with Kasumi. Actually, before I get into this, I should explain a few things. Number one, I'm not doing the Virtual Fighter characters because I've already talked about all the Virtual Fighter characters. I did a whole series on that. And I'm also not going to do the guest characters like Naotora and Mai because they're not Dead or Alive characters. So yeah, let's actually talk about the Dead or Alive characters. So first off is the face of the franchise, Kasumi. Now, I remember hearing a story that the person who designed Kasumi, like created her, was really nervous about how people would react to her, and like he lost sleep for days and stuff. But I don't think he had to worry because a lot of people seem to like her. I also like her. She's my main, after all. So I kind of have to like her. I will say in terms of personality, there's not much there, you know? But, you know, that's a problem with a lot of characters in fighting games, you know? So I'm not going to hold that against her too much. What I will say, though, is that her design, while perfectly fine, when you put her right next to Mai, it's like, it's so similar that they have a similar hairstyle, the ponytail, and a very similar outfit, except one's blue and one's red, you know? Obviously, there's a lot of Mai Shiranui in her, and they're both ninja, you know? So, at least I think Mai's a ninja. I don't know. I don't play a lot of King of Fighters / Fatal Fury. But either way, Kasumi kind of fits my playstyle, which is I always love fast, rush-down-like characters, and Kasumi has one of the fastest jabs in the game, so yeah, it definitely fits my style. So I would say she's about an 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, that's good enough. Alpha 152. Now, if you played Dead or Alive 4, and I have, you probably hate this character. She was the final boss, and she was annoying as heck. She was such a cheating little word I can't say on YouTube. But, yeah, that probably affects my opinion of her a little bit. I also never play her. Even though she's a clone of Kasumi, her moveset is not like Kasumi at all, which is good. Like, there's basically no Echo Fighters in this game. At least in terms of moveset. There are a few in terms of design, for sure. But, yeah, obviously no personality there. She doesn't even talk. And, you know, just not a character I like to use. Like I said, I really don't like this character because of Dead or Alive 4. So, I think she's just going to get like a 4 out of 10 from me. I don't like her at all. Okay, Brad Wong. So, I think Brad is really fun to play. Now, the funny thing is, the drunken kung fu fighter has been a staple in fighting games for a long time. Almost every major franchise has one. And I think out of all of them, Brad is the most fun and easiest to use. I say easy, but, you know, he's not easy, but easier than a lot of the other characters like Wei Lulong from Tekken, or what's the name? Shun Di from Virtual Fighter. Yeah, they were a lot harder to use than Brad. Brad is the easiest of the hard type of character to learn. And I find it to be really fun. You can run circles around your opponent with all your evasive moves and your crazy moves and stuff like that, always keeping him guessing and stuff. He's a bit slow, which is, you know, the only problem. So he doesn't really fit my playstyle, but he's really fun to use. Like, I'm not great with him, but I just think he's really fun. He's one of those characters that I'm not good with, but I will pull out just because he's really fun. And, you know, that's all that matters. It's not like I'm playing these games competitively or anything. He doesn't have really anything important to do in the story, although in this game I think he has like this, or was it this game or the next game, but he has this scene with Elliot where they're fighting over like a dumpling. It reminds me of that Kung Fu Panda scene. You know, it's a really funny scene, so he's a really funny character. And I think looking at this roster, I'm looking at this roster in its totality, he might be my favorite male character just because of how funny he is and how funny of a character he is. I just wish he was in the story more so we could see him more, but he has like nothing to do with the story, as a lot of the characters do. It's a kind of a Tekken situation where only a few characters are actually important to the story, and a lot of characters get sidelined. I swear, fighting games do not need story modes, but that's a story for another day. I'd say I give Brad probably about an 8, same as Kasumi, because he's just so fun to use. I wish I was better with him. You know, it would have been like a 9 or maybe even a 10 if I was like really good with him and he fit my playstyle, but he doesn't. But even for a character to not fit my playstyle and I still love to use them, that says something. Okay, Milla. She was introduced in this game, and I actually like playing her more in Dead or Alive 6 because of the changes they made to her moveset. Pretty much every character they introduce in this game, their moveset feels a bit limited because unlike the other characters where they've had years to perfect and fine-tune their moveset, the new characters always kind of feel like they got the short end of the stick a little bit, which is why I think Milla is so much better in Dead or Alive 6 because they had more time to mess with her moveset and stuff. Her fighting style is mixed martial arts, so that's kind of interesting. That's, nice. I like her design. Her character design is really nice. I tried using her a bit in this game, but like I said, I use her more in Dead or Alive 6. So I guess my opinion of her got better with time. I'd say she's about a 7 for me. Pretty good. Okay, Helena. So this is a character that I don't like fighting against because for some reason the CPU is really good with her, and she moves. She has the different mix-ups and stuff, and I'm also not good with her. So it's a double dose of bad for me. I don't like fighting against her. I don't like using her. Her character design is fine, nothing special, But she is a very important character in the story, so she's got that going for her. But like I said, it's not a character that I like using and don't like fighting against. And character design can only take you so far. I'd say she's about a 5 for me, perfectly average. Okay, Kokoro. This is another character who I like using more in Dead or Alive 6, but I don't know why. Because I don't think they made that many changes to her moveset or anything. I guess she just worked better in that game. I don't know. For some reason, I'm just better with her in that game than in this game. She's kind of a more simplified version of Akira. It's the same fighting style, but way simpler. Because Akira is incredibly hard to use. So I do like her. I'm okay with her. Like I said, I'm better with her in the next game. She was actually my main for a while when the game first came out. I named her in Dead or Alive 6. Because for some reason, Kasumi didn't click with me in Dead or Alive 6. I don't know what happened. It was a change of mechanics, I guess, but I wasn't as good with Kasumi as I was in that game as in this game. It's amazing how similar Dead or Alive 5 and 6 are, yet different enough that everyone felt different. It's weird. Especially since I can't put my finger on why. Everyone had like the same move set pretty much, except for some characters got new stuff, but it was just the different mechanics and stuff. Anyway, I'm getting off track. I'm starting to yap. Anyway, Kokoro. Her design is fine. Nothing too special, but it's fine. It's nice. I like it. I think I didn't really think much of Kokoro in this game, but like I said, because it was the next game that I started to really like her. So if I was reviewing her just from Dead or Alive 5, it would probably be like a 6. But because I used her a lot in Dead or Alive 6, I'm going to give her a 7. Bayman. Believe it or not, I forget this character exists most of the time. He's a character that I find pretty boring in terms of moveset, even though he has a lot of moves. He's slow, so I don't like using him. I don't like slow characters. His combos are simple and damaging enough, so that's what he makes up for. Is like, okay, he's slow, but does a lot of damage with little effort. He's got a lot of throws and holds and stuff like that. So if you're good at those things, great, but I'm not. So he's not the character for me. And in terms of the story mode, he's basically just a hired goon, so nothing special there. Yeah, like I said, I just forget he exists most of the time. That pretty shows how much, how forgettable he kind of is. So yeah, not a character for me. I give him like a 4 out of 5. Christy. So the sexy assassin is a trope of fighting games. Pretty much every major fighting game franchise has one. And so nothing really stands out. It's funny too, because at least in other games, that character will stand out because they're so much more sexy than the other characters. But this is Dead or Alive. Pretty much every female character is sexy, or at least they try to do it a little bit for most characters. So it's like, how does she stand out? When everyone's sexy, no one is, kind of thing. I guess you could Dead or Alive a little bit, but depends. Maybe overexposure to the sexiness, but whatever. That's discussion for a different time, I guess. She is a fast, fresh down type character, which is my style, so I have used her a little bit, but I'm just not as good with her as I am with other characters, so she's all right, I guess. I guess she's a decent 6 out of 10, Rig. So Rig was introduced in this game, and I would say out of all of the new characters they introduced, he's the most complicated because like a lot of other fighting game characters that use Taekwondo, he has a bunch of different stances and stuff like that, and it does make him pretty fun once you learn him, much like Haorong in Tekken, who has a very similar moveset to Rig, or I guess Rig has similar to Haorong since Haorong came first. He's very fun once you get to learn him, but he takes a lot of time to learn all his stances and all the different moves that he has. But I think he's a good addition to the cast. Like I said, out of all the new characters, he had the craziest moveset, so he's pretty fun. And for some reason, I'm just realizing, like him looking at me right now like this, he reminds me a lot of Randy Orton for some reason. Didn't Randy Orton like wear like that vest hood combination at one point in his career? I don't know. He's looking at me and I'm like, Randy Orton, stop looking at me like that. Anyway, in terms of the story, he didn't have much to do in this game, but in the next game, it's revealed that he's like a sleeper soldier, like for the evil organization. So that's something, I guess. So yeah, I do find him to be fun. And so yeah, I'd say a 7 out of 10 is pretty good for me. Okay, Jan Lee. Obviously, probably the most overused fighting game trope ever is your Bruce Lee wannabe, I guess you could call it. Whether it's, Law from Tekken or who's the Bruce Lee from Fei Long from Street Fighter. And then you got Jackie, who's actually in this game, from Virtua Fighter. He's the Bruce Lee stand-in. But I think either Jan Lee or Fei Long are the closest to Bruce Lee. Although I think that's the reason Fei Long is not in Street Fighter anymore, because he was so close to Bruce Lee that it was bordering on copyright infringement, and the family of like Bruce Lee's estate, I think, got on them. I don't know. But anyway, those type of characters are always fun. I always find these characters to be very fun. Even though I'm never great with them, they're still very fun to pull out. I think I prefer Jackie from Virtua Fighter, personally. Like, I'm actually pretty good with Jackie in Virtua Fighter. Way better than I am with Jan Lee, that's for sure. So he's not my favorite Bruce Lee wannabe, but he's still pretty good. And in storyline, Jan Lee won the Dead or Alive tournament in this game and the next game. He's a 2-time, maybe even more. I don't remember the story from 4 and below, I forget, even though I played those games. But I remember Dead or Alive 5 and 6, he won the tournament. So at the very least, 2-time back-to-back winner, maybe more. So that's something. I would say he's a 7 out of 10 for me. A fun character, and you always love to see this trope. All right, Zack. So Zack is the Muay Thai character. That's a common thing in fighting games. And also the comedy relief character, which is also a common thing in fighting games. There's always at least that one comedy relief character. Now, is it a bit iffy that the only black character in this franchise is the comedy relief jobber? Maybe, but whatever. I think he's fun. I think he's fun to play. Muay Thai characters are usually pretty fun to play, in my opinion, whether it's Sagat or, other characters from other franchises. They're pretty fun. What about Joe? I think Joe, his name is Joe. I forget his last name, but he's in King of Fighters or Fatal Fury, one of those games. Is it Joe Higashi or something like that? Anyway, he's fun. The Muay Thai characters are always fun, is what I'm saying. Even Adon I found to be funny. Found to be fun, even though he's annoying and I don't like his character. He can be fun to play sometimes. But yeah, I think Zack is pretty decent. I don't play him a ton, but every now and then I do play as him because he can be fun. Like I said, the Muay Thai is just kind of fun. I would say 6 or 7. I'm debating. I'll go 7. I'm feeling generous today. I like Zack. Okay, Ayane. So Ayane is probably my favorite female character in this franchise. I don't know if that's because she was in Ninja Gaiden 2, which is one of my favorite games of all time, or what. Maybe it's the character design, or I don't know. But I just like her a lot. And she's basically my secondary main. Like if I'm doing tag team, I usually use Kasumi and Ayane. They synergize pretty well. You can get some really good combos off of them with their tag team stuff. I think the reason I'm better with Kasumi than Ayane is because Ayane is a bit harder to control. She has a bit more maneuverability, but that can also be a detriment. But yeah, I do like her a lot. In terms of storyline, she's chasing after Kasumi, who she thinks was a traitor, and there's a whole lot. I can't go into the whole story with Ayane. She's got a lot going on. That would take up way too much time. But yeah, she's got a lot going on, way more than most characters. You could argue even more than some of the main characters, like Kasumi, you know? But yeah, I like Ayane a lot. She's fun to play. I like her character. She's a 9 out of 10 for me. Okay, Ryu Hayabusa. It's funny that they just call him Hayabusa, not Ryu. I guess they're trying to keep him away from Ryu from Street Fighter or something. I don't know. But anyway, obviously the face of the Ninja Gaiden franchise, and it's kind of a shame he can't use any of his stuff from the Ninja Gaiden franchise, like his weapons. Even though he has a sword, he never uses it. He doesn't have his Ninpo or whatever. Although I think if you use his like special move in this one, he like finishes off the combo with like the blast, like a HUD. Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of the Ninja Gaiden tool set. But despite that, he's still very fun to play. I think he's pretty fun. He's a bit slower than most of the ninja characters, but he's got a bit more power, and he's still got a lot of tricks like the Izuna drops, and he can teleport and all that stuff. So he's pretty fun and a pretty tricky, hard to fight against. And I put in some time with him. He's pretty fun. Ninja Gaiden franchise, so I'm always going to like Ryu Hayabusa. He's probably an 8 out of 10 for me. All right, Neo Tengu. This is a weird one. So Neo Tengu was a DLC character who I don't know what her place in the story is, because there was a character that was just, I believe it's just called Tengu, who was basically like the Akuma of the series. He was this evil entity that just showed up randomly and wanted to fight people, and he was like a spirit of chaos or whatever. I never really got to figure out what he was all about. He wasn't in a lot of the games. At least I don't think he was. And so now they just made a female version just because Dead or Alive, you know, got to have a female version, I guess, if you're going to bring them back. So yeah, I never played Tengu though. Neo Tengu and Tengu they have the same moveset. They're slower characters, so I never really use them that much. And since there's not much to the character, and the character design, well, perfectly fine, is nothing special. I've got nothing else to say about this character. I guess it's a 5. It's perfectly fine, I guess. But if we're going to talk perfectly fine, I think Elliot is the pinnacle of perfectly fine. He's perfectly fine to play. Perfectly fine everywhere, you know? He reminds me a lot of Leo from Tekken in terms of the fighting style, although I prefer Leo in Tekken 8. Tekken 8 is like the only time I really played Leo, but I think Leo's really fun. And I think I like that a lot better than Elliot in this game. But he's perfectly fine, so 5 out of 10. Tina, one of the 3 wrestling characters. I love the stereotypical American thing she's got going on. You know how the Japanese always love to portray Americans. Stars and stripes, hamburgers, yeehaw, all that stuff. Very stereotypical, but I kind of love it, you know? In terms of her gameplay, I have more fun with her than Bass, you know? So that's something. She's a bit faster. It has a bit more variety in her moves, though not a ton. You know, she can throw people around a lot. You know, obviously as a wrestler, you want to connect with a lot of throws. You're going to get a lot of damage off of that and stuff. But I just found her striking game to be a bit better. So she's fun to pull out every now and then. I'm not good with her because she's slow and, you know, relies on throws and stuff. But she is fun on the lower difficulties where you can just throw your opponent around a lot. I'd say she's a 6 for me, personally. Okay, La Mariposa, or Lisa, because whenever she's not masked, she's just Lisa. Lisa Hamilton, I believe, is her full name. She is a Lucha Libre character, so the second wrestling character, and in my opinion, the most fun, and my favorite. She's a character, while I'm not amazing with, is a character I love to pull out. She's a lot like Brad. She's really fun to pull out, and relies a lot of momentum. You got to keep the momentum going. You got to keep your opponent guessing with your combination of strikes, mix-up, and throws and stuff. So she can be really annoying to fight against if your opponent is really good with her. And if you lose the momentum, it can be very hard to get it back sometimes. But yeah, once you get going, you have a good round with Lisa, it feels really good. So yeah, I find her to be very fun to play. I just wish I was better with her, you know? The throw, you know, gameplay and all the stuff is not really my thing, but it's fun. I'm going to give her an 8 because she's really fun to play. As far as her character goes, it's kind of funny that she's like a scientist for the evil organization. At least she was. So yeah, it's different, I guess. As far as Lucha Libre characters, that's a style that I always love, but I feel very few games actually do them justice. Like I felt El Fuerte from Street Fighter 4 was not a great representation of Lucha Libre style because his moveset really didn't work. You know, in 2D, it's a lot harder to work. In 3D, it's a lot easier to work. The only other character that I'd say gets close to Lisa is El Blaze from Virtua Fighter, but I still think Lisa's more fun. But yeah, like I said, 8 out of 10. I'm not going to do the Virtua Fighter characters. Bass. So, obviously, what you see is what you get. He's a very powerful who does a lot of damage with his strikes and throws. You know, probably the strongest throws in the game, but you know, you got to be good at that. He's very slow, so I'm not good with him. But I do like the fact that in the Dead or Alive movie, he was played by Kevin Nash. That was ideal casting. You know, got the whole. He kind of actually reminds me of Paul Phoenix with the whole American thing, you know, and the outfit he has, you know, yeah. But yeah, he's not a character I use very much because, you know, not my style. But, you know, I always appreciate grapplers. I wish I was better with grapplers. I like grapplers, but I'm just not good with them. It's just not my style. But, you know, I still can't help but like this guy. He's going to be a 5 out of 10 for me. Lei Fang. I don't think there's a character that I have word I'm looking for. I got nothing to say about her, really. I don't use her. Her character design is fine, though, you know, nothing special. I would say it's pretty stereotypical for this type of a character. And yeah, like I said, I don't use her. She's kind of like Pi. I mean, look at them. Yeah, I think it's obvious where the inspiration comes. And their fighting style is very identical. They have different stances that they can transition into and stuff. But I'm much better with Pi than I am with Lei Fang. I don't know why, just I was always better with Pi. I think Pi's a bit simpler. I think that's why. So yeah, I got nothing really to say about her. I think she's another perfectly fine character. I got nothing against her, but nothing in favor of her either. So 5 out of 10, yeah. All right, Hitomi. So, Live Dimensions. That was the first Dead or Alive game I really got into because she's very easy to use. Once I got familiar with the mechanics and all the other stuff, I transitioned onto other characters. But yeah, for a while, Hitomi was my main, so I kind of got attached to her a little bit. I still, you know, use her every now and then, but I'm not as good with her as other characters because she is so simple. And I feel like, you know, maybe she has a decent enough mix-up game, but maybe a bit too predictable, which is never good in a game with counters because you don't want to be too predictable. But her character design is decent, and I like the fact that most karate characters are always very like stern, disciplined, soft-spoken, and she's more bubbly and like outgoing. So it's like the complete opposite of what you'd normally see a karate characters in fighting games. So that's something. I'm going to give her a 7. I like Hitomi. All right, Phase 4. So this is the closest we get to a Echo Fighter, as this is just Kasumi. I mean, look at her. It's just Kasumi. Yeah, it's another clone. I don't know why Kasumi needed 2 clone characters. We already had Alpha. So why they felt this was necessary, I don't know. She was a DLC character too, so there was no story behind it. So, yeah. And since Kasumi's my main, there's no point in me using Phase 4, even though they have a different moveset. I just don't like Phase 4 as much in terms of gameplay, so there's no reason for me to use her. Yeah, I don't know if Dead or Alive is ever going to come back. It seems like this is a dead franchise. But if they do, leave the Kasumi clones out of it. We've moved past them, you know, both in terms of storyline and in tolerance. So yeah, I'm going to say 3 out of 10. Okay, Hayate. So if Kasumi and Ryu are the faces of their respective franchises, Ayane and Hayate are the sidekicks. They're the Luigi to them. You know, he's another ninja that plays kind of similar, but it's kind of like a Ryu and Ken situation in Street Fighter 6. They're both very different, but also have some similar moves. You know, so you can pick your favorite, but I prefer Hayabusa personally. Hayate's fine, though. Obviously, he's a very important character in the story, so he's got that going for him. So he's much more memorable than some of the other characters, but, you know, not a character I play very often, but he's perfectly fine. I'd say he's another 5 out of 10 for me. Okay, not going to do the crossover characters. Raidou. So this is a weird one because Raidou was one of the first antagonists in this series, and he supposedly died a long time ago, and now he's back as a cyborg. But since he was a DLC character, there was no story. So they put his story in the next game, which was confusing because it's like, wait, he was already back. You know, it was really weird. They should have just waited and put him in Dead or Alive 6 instead of bringing him in here because, It was just really weird because it was like, what's the story with this guy? You know, we wouldn't find out until 6. But anyway, he's a slow character, so I don't use him. You know, not much to him. I like his design, and I like that they brought him back. It was a nice callback to, you know, the original, like, playable antagonist. You know, so that was nice. But honestly, he doesn't do anything for me, really, in terms of gameplay and stuff. It was just kind of cool to see him back. I'll be generous and say I'll give him a 5. Just the aura he has, you know. And he was a bit of a menace in the old games, so, you know. All right, Marie Rose. So another as DLC. She's all right in terms of gameplay. Again, I feel like because she's a new character, something was missing from her moveset. I don't even know what her gameplay is, really. She's kind of evasive. She's kind of, you know, as this and that. I don't know. It's weird. I don't even know what fighting style it is. I don't think it even is a real fighting style. So, yeah, her moveset's a little bit weird. Her design is fine, you know. I do like the gothic style. And she apparently is very popular because she's appeared in a lot of other games. So they were pushing her for a while, which is weird for a character that was just a DLC, you know. But whatever. I think to make up for that, though, she was a huge part of the story in the next game. The story almost focused around her most of the time. It was really weird. You'd think she was the face of the franchise, the way the next game treated her. I guess for a while she was, though, because, like I said, she was appearing in a lot of other games. She was appearing more in other games than Kasumi was. I guess for me, though, I tried using her. She's all right. Never really got the hang of her, I think, to the point where I'd say I was good with her. But, you know, I guess I'm decent with her. I guess a 7 out of 10 is fine. I do like how she was in more of the next game, so we got to learn a bit more about her. All right, Momiji. Another character from Ninja Gaiden. I think Ninja Gaiden 2 specifically. At least that's where I remember her being playable. So, yeah, I have an attachment to her because of the Ninja Gaiden 2, like I said. Again, though, she doesn't have her Naginata that she uses. She doesn't have any of her special moves, you know, that she had in that game, unfortunately. So, but she's pretty simple to use. She has a pretty simple moveset. Again, she was a new character, so they had to make a whole new moveset. Like I said, the new characters kind of have simple moves that I feel like are just missing something to make them really great. You know, I said that with Marie Rose. I said that with Milla, who would get that in the next game. So, yeah, just it was missing something. But what we have is actually pretty good, all things considered. She is decently fun. But I feel like she could have been a bit more, you know, if they wanted to really let loose and have her have some of the moves from, you know, Ninja Gaiden 2. But I guess, much like with Ryu, that would make her overpowered if she had all those moves, but whatever. But I do like her. She's a 7 out of 10 for me. All right, Genfu. So obviously a trope of fighting games, the old man fighter. I'm reminded of Wong from Tekken. In fact, I think these two have the same fighting style. They have a very similar stance, you know, idle stance and stuff. So yeah, it's a trope that you see a lot. And I guess also technically he and Elliot, they're kind of similar because Elliot's like his student. So they have a similar moveset. It's not identical, but it's also, I think, it's also the closest we get to an Echo Fighter. I wonder which is closer, him and Elliot or Phase 4 and Kasumi. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. But yeah, Genfu doesn't do much for me. I don't really use him because I don't really use Elliot. You know, if you have like on a tag team, you can have Elliot and Genfu together, so you have very similar characters, kind of like with some other characters you can do. So it's like there's that if you want to have like two very similar characters. For me though, he doesn't do much, but he's perfectly fine. I'd say a 5 out of 10, just like Elliot. Okay, Virtual Fighter. Okay, Ain. So this is a weird one that they decided to add because Ain, in storyline, Hayate lost his memory, and then when Hitomi found him and taught him karate, he became Ain. He started going by that name, and then when he got his memory back and became Hayate again, Ain obviously was gone in storyline, canonically, because he was just a like temporary character. So it's a weird thing, but they brought him back in the DLC as a nice little throwback. It's like Raido, you know, it's a throwback to an old character. So he's a karate user, like in much like Genfu and Elliot, you can put him and Hitomi on a team if you want very similar characters. But I prefer Hitomi. Hitomi's a bit faster and has a bit more variety in her moves. So that's why I like her. But, you know, sometimes he's fun to pull out if you want to do a double karate tag team. That's the only time I really bring him out. So he's perfectly fine as well. 5 out of 10 for me. Rachel, another Ninja Gaiden character. So, much like Momiji, I feel like she's just missing a little bit from her moveset to make her really, really fun. She's perfectly fine the way she is. She's a slow, heavy hitter / throw character. Again, not using any moves from her Ninja Gaiden games, but it makes sense because she uses a big hammer in her game, so she's obviously a power character. So yeah, the fact that they is kind of neat. It at least fits. I don't find her as fun as Momiji because, like I said, I don't like slow characters, but she's decently fun. But out of the Ninja Gaiden characters, she's the character I play the least. So she's going to be a 6 out of 10 for me. All right, Leon. So Leon is, from what I understand, is very similar to Bayman, like in terms of the holds and the grabs and the strikes and stuff like that. I think that's the reason he wasn't in the game originally. He was DLCs because they already had Bayman. It's like, well, why do we need him? But then they threw him in because I guess they're running out of characters. There seems to be a very small vocal section of the fan base who really likes this guy. I don't. Like I said, I don't like Bayman, so why would I like this guy who's basically the same thing? Yeah, he's a 4 out of 10 for me. All right, Honoko. Honoko's an odd one because her gimmick, I guess if you want to call it that, is that she has like moves of a ton of other characters. She's not like Mokujin from Tekken, where you pick a character and it randomly gets a moveset every round. No, like her entire moveset is basically a mismatch of other characters' moves. It's really weird, really random, but it's also kind of funny to see this little girl like throw out wrestling moves and drunken kung fu moves and all this other stuff. So it's really funny. But what's also weird is that the button inputs that you do for other characters' moves are not the same for her. So even though you know the moves, like, oh, I know that's Bass's move, or I know that's Brad Wong's move, it's not the same button input, so I always got confused. Because like I want to do that move, but it's like, oh wait, I'm not using that character. So now I'm pressing the wrong button. So I could never use her because that confused me way too much. But it's an interesting concept. I like the concept. Although since she was a DLC character, we didn't know what the deal with her was. And we find that out in Dead or Alive 6. And for some reason, she's related to Ayane. Like, that was really weird. What was Dead or Alive 6's obsession with making everybody related to everybody? We found out Kokoro was related to Helena. And it's like, why? Why is everybody related to each other? I don't know. It's weird. Why? I didn't like that. Why did Honoka have to be related to Ayane? Why did Kokoro have to be related to Helena? Why is everyone related to everybody? It's weird. Is that the only thing they can think of for like weird dramatic reveals or something? I don't know. Anyway, Honoka, like I said, I don't use her that much because I like I said, I like the concept, but it just confuses me. If you're someone because she was one of the last DLC characters, so by this point I had already played so many of the cast because I like this game so much that using a character that has all the moves but different inputs was just a mind f. You know, it was just ugh. But I like her character design. I like the gimmick, but I cannot play her. It messes with my mind too much. But I'm gonna give her a 6 because I just really love the concept. And that's all the Dead or Alive characters. Let me know what you think of all these characters, and I'll see you next time.